Last night on Thursday, the host announced that Paramount canceled his show. The company stated it was a, quote, financial decision. Joining us now, Puck founding partner and entertainment lawyer Matthew Bellany. Lisa Rubin, still with us. Matthew, was this a financial decision?
Well, it's complicated, like with all things. I think there are multiple things going on here. It is 100% true that the economics of late night television are terrible. The Stephen Colbert Show was losing tens of millions of dollars for CBS. They have been discussing the future of this show for months and months. They told Stephen Colbert about a month ago, about around July 4th, that the economics were not looking good. Then they told him the night before he announced it that he was gone. So that is the fact of the economic situation. Now, obviously, there is an entire political situation going on here where Skydance very much wants this deal to be approved by the FCC, which is the Trump administration. And Paramount knows everything they do to appease Trump helps that process along. So while my sources are saying that this was a financially motivated decision, you can't ignore the politics in the ecosystem right now.
Didn't Donald Trump at one point imply that there was more to the settlement than just the finances, than just that one check?
He did. He actually said explicitly that the actual price of the Paramount settlement was $16 million plus another $16 million in advertising for his pet causes on CBS that Skydance was going to pay. Paramount has denied that they have said anything about extra payments. Skydance has not commented on that. Now, obviously, they don't want to enrage the president, so it doesn't necessarily mean much if they didn't. Trump, as we know, says a lot of things. Some of them are based in truth, some of them are not. But there is at least chatter around this, and we know that the incoming owner of Paramount, David Ellison, has met with Trump twice at two separate UFC events. We do not know what they were talking about at those events.
The timing of this, if Paramount did not want it to be linked to the politics, could they have pushed it off and made this announcement at a different time? Were there constraints that forced them to do it on Thursday, just a couple days after Stephen Colbert seemed to say, try me?
Yeah, the optics in here are very bad for CBS. There are a couple things that work. First of all, now is typically when they would start to negotiate with Colbert for a new deal. His deal is up after next season. So there was that element of it. Secondly, I think there's an element of corporate politics at work. The head of CBS right now, George Cheeks, is expected to go over to Skydance and Paramount when that deal closes. And there's some speculation within the industry that he is trying to show that he can be fiscally disciplined and make tough decisions before that deal closes in order to both show the new regime that he's tough and to kind of take the heat off of them. If they were going to cancel Colbert once they took over, he's now already done it, so it takes the heat off of them. Those are at least the discussion points.
One question, this is quick. I know there are a lot of folks online that are demanding, that more people on CBS take a stand in the face of this. And they're also saying things like, I'm never going to watch CBS again. Part of the reason that Stephen Colbert was in a vulnerable position was because the viewership is down. The viewership is down in broadcast. So if people really want these shows to be able to take a stand, to have some power or leverage, they got to watch them. They got to watch them on broadcast.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence that the Colbert audience is down. Now, he was the #1 show on broadcast late night. The #1 show in all of late night is on Fox News. But on broadcast, he was #1, but the revenue associated with late night in general is down 50% from 7 years ago. Colbert's 2.5 million average audience is way down from where those shows were even a few years ago. So you're right. If people want to support these shows, great. Like if nobody watches, they're going to disappear.
Yeah. Matthew Bellany, thank you so much. Really appreciate you sticking around for us today. Lisa, let me talk about the other aspect of this. There is now a investigation being called for by the Writers Guild of America. They want the New York State Attorney General, Letitia James, to look into potential wrongdoing at Paramount. What could that look like?
I guess one of the things that they're looking into is whether Paramount has wrongfully, essentially, paid the Trump administration for things that they didn't do. Are they engaging in certain corporate decisions because they want the merger to go through, as opposed to engaging in good faith in a legitimate litigation settlement? You know, somebody described the initial settlement to me as something that looked a lot more like a merger tax than a settlement of a civil litigation. And certainly with this decision being made, that only adds fuel to that fire. But notice they're not calling for a federal investigation. Why? Because this Department of Justice, controlled by this president, would never look at whether or not there is anything suspect going on here that could constitute a federal crime.
You used to work on the Hill. I know that there are lawmakers who are angry about this. Adam Schiff was on the show last night after Stephen made that announcement. If Congress wanted to get involved in some way, what would that involvement look like?
Well, first of all, Congress would have to involve a bipartisan effort, right? Because Democrats on the Hill don't have the subpoena power to call, for example, Paramount executives to come and testify on their own. But were there bipartisan cooperation, you could ask people to come and talk about what they understood the deal was that they were making. Was it implied to them that they needed to make other sort of extrajudicial, extra settlement-oriented decisions in order for that Skydance merger to go through? That's the sort of thing that Hill folks should be looking at, and they should be looking at whether or not those decisions are being made in the best interest of shareholders. Because remember, there are shareholders involved here.
Can they sue?
They could sue. They could say that this is not in the best interest of Paramount shareholders. Now, Paramount shareholders may very much want this deal to go through because
they're going to get paid out.
Correct. This is helpful for them. But to the extent that these kinds of decisions are eroding existing shareholder value, that may be a consideration,
Let me ask you about merger tax. You just mentioned that the settlement looks more like a merger tax. Is a merger tax illegal?
You're not supposed to obtain payment in order for the government to make a decision that is regulatorily helpful for you. So, yes, I mean that colloquially, calling it a merger tax, that's like a half joke. But to the extent that somebody feels that they are forced to make a payment to someone personally or to a nonprofit organization here, the Trump Library, for example, in order to get something through a government agency, that's absolutely unlawful and illegal and would be both under state law and federal law.
Lisa Rubin, thanks for joining us on this and for the Epstein stuff as well.